This feels so often the case with us too. Like we're driving down the road as we're paving it, you know?
Right.
Like,
well, I think it's how you grow.
Yeah.
I really do.
There's definitely a healthy tension there.
Absolutely.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to the Creative Table. With us today, we have the one and only Chris Arias. Chris is a composer and voiceover artist, amongst many other things. He is extremely talented and well-informed about the creative world and industries they're in. And he's done work for clients such as the Delta, the AFC, Turner, Garmin, Cadillac, Chick-fil-A, Coke, others. I'll let him tell us more about it. But Chris, thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So you were running around as a solo offering?
Yeah,
it
was
didn't have a team or
me.
anything? Okay,
no, it
cool.
was just a one-man show. So I was doing some little interstitial spot for CNN, and there was a copy change, and their like big super duper VO guy was not available for a few days. So they said, hey, can you just cut a placeholder and so we can keep working, make sure the copy's good.
Like a scratch track, yeah.
Yeah, so I literally ran in the booth, hit record, read it one time, came back out. They were like, that was actually really good. I was like, cool, thanks.
Awesome.
Didn't think anything about it. Finished the spot. About a week later, they called and they were like, hey, we really like your voice. Can we just use it? And I was like, sure. And said, we'll even pay you for it. So I was like, even better. So, but that was still like, I didn't think I would be shifting gears at all and doing voice work. I just thought it was this random event, just like just another random fun story. So fast forward a few more years, now we're up to about 2015. And I had a friend who used to be an anchor at CNN, and she had been doing other media jobs just on her own, freelancing afterwards. And she said, you should really try the voiceover thing because you already have all the gear and you can just use it to fill in your calendar when there's holes or whatever. So she just kept on me about it. And she is one of these people that doesn't want to start doing something until she feels 100% confident that she knows everything about it and she can do it 100%. And I'm more like, I'm a little comfortable building the plane as I fly or, figuring stuff out.
Yeah, this feels so often the case with us too. Like we're driving down the road as we're paving it,
Right.
Like,
well, I think it's how you grow.
Yeah.
I really do.
There's definitely a healthy tension there.
Absolutely. And I've bitten off way more than I could chew a couple of times and regretted it. But usually if you just bite off a little more than you can chew, you have a good network of people that you can call when you get beyond your knowledge or skill set. That's the key. So I just sort of haphazardly started doing some voice work, and I got like this. The second thing I got was this national spot for Rogue Fitness that was on the X Games.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I got this Joe's Crab Shack national spot, and I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire making, doing voiceover. And then I went 7 months, and I auditioned for 800 jobs, and I didn't book anything.
Good gosh.
But I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was
And this was
trying
just,
things.
Were you doing the same voice in each one, or were you just trying all over different kinds?
I was trying, I don't know, maybe I can sound like Morgan Freeman. I don't know, maybe I can. Yeah,
Why not?
I was trying anything and everything. Right. It was a ton of fun, and it was, it wasn't my life.
Very time consuming, it sounds like.
It was very
You're doing this
time-consuming.
in your off time, or what? Because you got to pay the bills somehow.
This was just between other things.
Yeah, okay.
And I was really good at editing
like, honey,
dialogue.
I got this idea. You got to trust me. We're going to take all our savings.
Right.
And I'm going to try out this thing for 8 months.
Right. No, it was very, my friend Anna was really right in that it was a great thing to just, if there was a dip in the calendar, I could just kind of throw 2 or 3 hours at voiceover, no problem.
Yep.
So it was cool. But I started talking to some mentors, and I had been, what I didn't realize is I had spent 20 years in between great producers and great voice talent, engineering and mixing TV commercials. And so I'd been listening to all this dialogue between voiceover artists and producers for years, not knowing that I was getting educated in this. So when I started finally booking stuff, producers would say, wow, you're really directable. And I was like, cool. And I was like, oh yeah, I learned from like the best people. It was really cool. And then that just started building more and more steam. And as a lot of changes started happening in the online music royalty free, or even if it's, with royalties, just people started figuring out the licensing and making those libraries really available. I saw composition work start to do this because it's getting so...
That was like 2010, 12, 13, around there.
Yeah, 14, 15.
Yeah.
It's getting so easy to get really high quality music that's pretty close to custom. You can, if you're willing to work at it a little bit, you can find exactly what you're after or real close to it.
Yep.
So composition's doing this. I was still doing music production, and I still do that. Post-production was still doing its thing, but voiceover was just like... And then as you do it, you start picking up a few repeat customers who are coming to you year after year after year after year. And so there's kind of a natural growth element.
Yep.
And here we sit.
Awesome. So... and I want to go. I got to go there with the voiceover side of things. You have along the way just taken on some different types of voices that you do,
for sure.
And has that been like professionally learned, or has that also been falling up the stairs? Like, man, when I first did British, I sounded like just absolutely terrible, and now it's oh gosh, can't think of what's his name from Mary Poppins?
Dick Van Dyke?
Yes. He did like this terrible like Cockney accent. It's famous for how bad it is.
Right.
Of course, I didn't never think anything of it, but apparently it's like just like atrocious to the right ears. Is that how you were when you first jumped into accents, or did you get like a voice coach to like walk you through?
Again, this is like, I would love to say I'm like Mr. Intentional, and I am just not. But I like literally from the time I started talking, I just had this little cast of characters, these weird little voices. I watched way too much television when I was little. Good
excuse to watch all the Looney Tunes and Mel Blanc.
Absolutely. And I really came to appreciate Mel Blanc much more than I did before. But so I talked in crazy voices and accents and all that stuff. Literally from the time I was 4.
Yeah.
And it drove my mom nuts. We'd be at a restaurant and I'd order my food like this, and she'd be like, why don't you just be normal? And it was fun. It was good, clean fun, and I mostly stayed out of trouble. But I talked.
I'm picturing like a little 8-year-old with the same goatee. Yes. So what's in the toolbox? How many accents do you do?
I don't know. That's a good question. We
were just at lunch, and you broke out something like straight out of Snatch. So the Guy Ritchie film. For those of you who haven't heard about it, you got to check it out.
So
old movie.
Britain is a lot like here. You have deep South. You have Northern. You got the guys from up in New York and that kind of thing. You got real New York. Then you got Jersey. Jersey's different than New York. Jersey's got its own little thing going on. Like they don't have sauce with their spaghetti. They call it gravy. Like, that's crazy to me. Gravy, you don't put gravy on spaghetti. But the big thing of red sauce, that's gravy in Jersey, but it's sauce in New York. Like, it's weird. So I have a handle on that stuff because I live here. But in England, like, there's a couple of things that I know. Like, there's a thing called RP, which is received pronunciation. And that is what the very upper crust are taught. That's how they are taught to speak.
RP?
Yes, received pronunciation. That's the name of it. And that's how the Queen and all of those dukes and duchesses and...
You watch The Crown as like part of your study?
It's most excellent, I must say. But then there's more that like, this is more like everyday, like they call it a southerner, but London is down in south of England, right? So it's southerner.
It's amazing.
The southern thing. But I don't know all the bits. And London is one of those places where they tell you that like, if they listen to you talk for a minute, they can tell you which block you're from. It's just like so specific. So I know like these kind of...
What about Australian?
General, that's really hard.
Really?
It's hard because they do their things really different there. I got a good friend he's like half New Zealander and half Australian. So I've been learning from him, but I've been learning a lot of stuff wrong, which is weird. Weird. So I auditioned for this book a couple years ago, and they loved the audition, and then they shot back and they said, could you make it Yorkshire instead? And so I tried really hard, but I could hear it like dipping in and out, and I just couldn't like keep it up. But
how does that sound? I can't think of.
Did you ever watch Frasier?
Okay.
So Daphne has a perfect Yorkshire, they say things like love. It's this it's got this little lilt to it. It's just lovely. It's lovely. But I can't stay there. Like I don't, but I could hear it coming in and out, and I was working at it. But there was a job for Garmin a couple of years ago, and the audition was up. It came up really late.
The Scottish. We got get to the Scots, you know.
It came up really late at night. The audition came in at like 10. They only wanted 20 auditions, so I knew it was going to be full by the next morning. It was like, well, I'm not going to the studio just to record this one thing. Mm-hmm. So I literally got out my iPhone, and I didn't want to give them any excuse to not call me. So I just put a little slate on the front of it. I said, hey, this is Chris. I'm away from my studio. It's late at night here, but I would love to read this for you. So I'm going to just read it on my phone. I'll be glad to send you another one from my studio tomorrow. But I would love to read this. And then I read the copy. So I get this call the next day from somewhere in Los Angeles. And I was like, this is Chris. They're like, is this Chris Arias? I was like, yep. She said, hey, this is Katie at Garmin. And I was like, oh. And she's like, did you send us an audition last night? I said, yeah. She's like, we thought you were Scottish. I was like, well, that was the idea. I spent a lot of time there. I've been there a bunch, I promise. You know? And so then she started laughing because I was like, oh, I'm going to lose the gig. Yeah. She's like, yeah, if we didn't know you were American, we probably wouldn't have called you back. Mm-hmm.